Hi and welcome to the 10 square metre workshop. If you have a track saw, you'll know how useful it is for cutting up sheets of material. However, if you're cutting up very small parts, it can be a bit ungainly. Perhaps what we need is a smaller track saw for those parts. Coming up after this. The basis for this project is the Bosch 12-volt circular saw. Other saws are available. The first phase is to convert the saw to a plunge type. There are 3 steps to this. First, the plunge stop. Starting with a piece of 6mm or 1/4 inch alloy plate, I milled a slot, or this could be done by hand, and cut it to size. The slot was made 13mm wide enough to get a hacksaw blade in, so I can finish cutting the slot. Adjust the slot with a needle file until it's a sliding fit over the quadrant. The side face is centre popped, then drilled 3.3mm for 4mm tapping. This is now tapped 4mm to the far side of the slot. The securing bolt is made from a 4mm bolt with a wing nut and securing lock nut. The ears on the reverse are cut away until the scale matches the position of the saw blade. Here you can see it set at 20mm depth. And that is the depth it's achieved when it's plunged. Next step is a retaining clip for the blade guard. This mounts to one of the existing screws and locks the blade guard in place, and it is just pressed to release. The final part of this conversion is a spring wrapped round a 4mm bolt through the centre bearing. Warning: this doesn't work if you want to use miter cuts. I rarely do this, all my cuts are 90 degrees, so this is fine. This all means you can now do plunge cuts to a preset depth. There are 2 routes now. The easy one is to use the slide provided with the saw. It's a little slack on tracks such as the Makita. However, there's a groove here where a 1.5mm sliver of nylon can be inserted, and this gives a nice smooth but tight fit. The result is still far from convenient. The track is too long and wide. What we need is something shorter, say about 600mm. The starting point is a 600mm by 100mm piece of aluminium plate and some T-track. The saw is placed on the track so that the blade clears the edge of the aluminium by about 2 to 3mm. This gap is measured and marked. The holes to mount the T-track are marked and centre popped. These are drilled 2.5mm and tapped 3mm. Then the 2 are joined together using 3mm countersunk bolts. Any excess can be ground back. The final item is a piece of 50mm aluminium angle. Well, of course this can be bent from sheet. This is marked out to match the 2 threaded holes in the drill and drilled out 5mm. holes are elongated into slots, so there's some adjustment. The angle plate is then relieved to make room for the body of the saw. Although all of this reduces the depth of cut, it will still cut 18mm thick material. The angle is mounted to the saw using two 5mm bolts through existing threaded holes. The bolts are tightened down with a guide, a smooth fit to the track. A little candle wax on the surface helps it move. That is silky smooth. The next step is to apply the cutting strip to the back of the aluminium plate. The strip was added proud on the cutting side. As usual, the strip is trimmed with the saw itself on a piece of scrap wood. The scale is no longer accurate, of course, but it's a 5mm offset, and that's a sum I can do in my head. So how does it work in practice? Well, supposing you needed to cut out this odd shape, you could do it on the bandsaw, but then you have to finish off the edges, because the bandsaw doesn't leave a very good finish. Just lay the track on the line and make the cut. Good quality straight cuts with little finishing needed. When I have a number of small parts to cut, this will be my method of choice. So that's my design for a mini track saw. Small, easy to use and very portable. I hope you found this interesting. Hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.